In today's video, we will covering 3 topics in single video. First, we will discuss why Iron Man's death was the MCU's greatest gamble. Second, we will cover why Tony Stark was powerful enough to wield the Infinity Gauntlet in Endgame. And third, we will talk about how Loki and Thor reunite in Avengers Doomsday and fight against Doctor Doom. So please watch this video till the end. Also, timestamps are given in description so you can direct watch your favorite topic from there. Let's get started.
Let's start with the elephant in the room. Killing Tony Stark was a massive risk. Think about it. When Iron Man hit theaters in 2008, it wasn't just a movie, it was a revolution. Nobody expected a B-list comic book hero played by a guy coming off a rough patch in Hollywood to launch a cinematic empire. But Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark did exactly that. He wasn't just a character, he was the face of the MCU. The first Avenger we met. The sarcastic, charming, brilliant billionaire who made us believe in superheroes again. For over a decade, Tony Stark carried the MCU on his shoulders. He was in 6 major films, had cameos in others, and his tech powered half the Avengers gear. Fans didn't just love him, they idolized him. His face was on posters, t-shirts, and memes. He was the guy you quoted at parties. So why would Marvel dare to end him? Why risk alienating millions of fans who'd invested years in his story? Because great storytelling isn't about playing it safe, it's about emotional honesty. Marvel knew that for Avengers Endgame to hit as hard as it needed to, someone had to pay the ultimate price. Not a side character, not a newcomer, someone who mattered, someone whose loss would feel like a punch to the gut. But here's the catch. If Tony's death felt cheap, forced, or pointless, it wouldn't just flop, it would betray the fans. Imagine if he died in a random explosion or got written off in a throwaway scene. The backlash would have been brutal. Hashtags would have trended. Petitions would have circulated. So, how did Marvel pull it off? How did they take the biggest risk in superhero movie history and turn it into one of the most unforgettable moments in cinema? Simple. They didn't just kill Tony Stark. They honored his legacy. They gave him an ending that felt earned, meaningful, and true to everything he stood for. Let's break it down. To understand why Tony's death landed so perfectly, we need to go back to who he was. Tony Stark wasn't a god like Thor. He wasn't a super soldier like Steve Rogers. He wasn't a rage-fueled beast like the Hulk. He was just a man. A flawed, messy, brilliant man who built his power from scratch, and that's what made him special. From the moment we met him in Iron Man, Tony was the embodiment of human potential. He wasn't born with powers, he made them. He didn't inherit a legacy, he forged one. His genius wasn't in his suit, it was in his mind. His heart wasn't in his chest, it was in his choices. But Tony's story was never about being perfect. It was about struggling to be better. In Iron Man, we saw him as an arrogant weapons mogul profiting off war and chaos. But when he was captured and saw the consequences of his work firsthand, something shifted. He didn't just build a suit to escape, he rebuilt himself. He took responsibility for his past, shut down his company's weapons division, and vowed to protect the world he'd once endangered. That was just the beginning. In Iron Man 2, we saw him wrestle with his own mortality, facing the poison in his arc reactor and the pressure of living up to his new role. In the Avengers, he learned to work with others, even when his ego screamed against it. In Iron Man 3, we saw the toll of his heroism, panic attacks, sleepless nights, and the fear that he'd never be enough. In Age of Ultron, his ambition backfired, creating a monster that threatened the world. In Civil War, his guilt and sense of duty tore the Avengers apart. And then came Infinity War. For years, Tony had been haunted by the fear of a cosmic threat. He'd seen it in visions, felt it in his bones. When Thanos arrived, it was Tony's worst nightmare come true. He fought harder than anyone, but it wasn't enough. He watched half the universe vanish, including Peter Parker, the kid he'd come to see as a son. By the time we get to Endgame, Tony isn't just fighting for survival, he's fighting for redemption, for hope, for the people he loves. What makes Tony's journey so powerful is that it's not a straight line, it's messy like real life. He stumbles, he doubts himself, he makes mistakes, But every time he gets back up, he keeps trying, and that's what makes him a hero, not his armor, but his heart. So, when he makes the choice to wield the Infinity Stones in Endgame, it's not a random act of bravery. It's the culmination of everything he's been through. It's the moment where every flaw, every lesson, every sacrifice comes together. It's not just a superhero moment, it's a human one. Now, let's zoom in on the scene that changed everything, the climax of Avengers Endgame. The battle is chaos. Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet. The Avengers are battered, broken, and out of options. He raises his hand, ready to snap his fingers and wipe out all life. And then nothing happens. The camera pans to Tony Stark. He's holding the Infinity Stones. He's outsmarted the Mad Titan. Let's pause right there. On paper, this moment sounds like a classic Hollywood cliche. The hero pulls a last-second trick, saves the day, and everyone cheers. It could have felt convenient, like a plot device cooked up to tie things neatly together. But it doesn't feel that way, not even close. Why? Because Marvel didn't lean on spectacle to sell this moment. They leaned on emotion. When Tony reveals he has the stones, it's not about the action, it's about what it costs him. We know the stones' power. We've seen what they did to Thanos, to Hulk. We know Tony's body can't handle it, and yet he doesn't hesitate. He looks at Thanos, calm and resolute, and says 4 words that echo through the entire MCU. I am Iron Man. The snap happens. Thanos' army turns to dust. The day is saved. But Tony doesn't get up. This is where Marvel's gamble pays off. They didn't give us a cheap victory. They didn't let Tony walk away. They made us feel the weight of his choice. We don't cheer because Tony defeated Thanos. We cry because he gave everything to do it. That's what separates Endgame from other blockbusters. It's not about the explosion or the CGI. It's about the man at the center of it all, making a choice that breaks our hearts. Let's talk about those 4 words. I am Iron Man. Why did they hit so hard? Why did they leave us speechless, teary-eyed, and reeling? Because they weren't just a line, they were a legacy. Cast your mind back to 2008, to the end of Iron Man. Tony Stark stands at a press conference, script in hand, ready to deny he's a superhero, but he can't do it. He tosses the cards aside, looks at the crowd, and declares, I am Iron Man. In that moment, those words are brash, defiant, dripping with ego. They're Tony at his most Tony rebellious, confident, craving the spotlight. Now fast forward to Endgame. When Tony says those words again, they're completely different. There's no swagger, no smirk. His voice is steady, quiet, almost serene. These aren't the words of a showman, they're the words of a man who knows exactly what he's about to do. It's a full circle moment, and it's breathtaking. In storytelling, a character arc is the journey from who a character is to who they become. Tony's arc is one of the most complete in movie history. He starts as a self-centered genius who lives for fame and ends as a selfless hero who dies for others. In 2008, I Am Iron Man was about claiming his identity. In 2019, it's about fulfilling it. That line isn't just a callback, it's the essence of his transformation. It's proof that Tony didn't just change, he evolved. His final act isn't about power or glory, it's about purpose. And that's why those 4 words are etched into our minds forever. Let's get real for a second. If you cried when Tony Stark died, and I know a lot of you did, you're not alone. That scene wrecked us. It wasn't just a movie moment, it felt personal. Why does it hurt so much? Because Tony's death taps into something deeply human. It's not just about losing a character, it's about what his loss represents. In most superhero movies, death is temporary. Characters come back via magic, time travel, or plot twists. It's why we rarely feel the stakes. But with Tony, Marvel did something different. They let him stay gone. That choice made his death real. It made it matter. When we watch Peter Parker sobbing, begging Tony to stay, we feel his grief. When Pepper kneels beside him, whispering, "You can rest now," we feel her love and her loss. When the arc reactor in his chest flickers out, we feel the finality of it all. Tony's death forces us to confront big, messy truths. Life is fragile. Choices have consequences. Sacrifice is beautiful, but it's also painful. That's what makes this moment so rare. Superhero movies are built for escape big battles, bright colors, happy endings. But the ones that stick with us, they're the ones that bring us back to ourselves. Tony's story reminds us that heroism isn't about being invincible. It's about doing what's right, even when it costs everything. It's about leaving the world better than you found it, even if you don't get to see the results. And yeah, it hurts, but it's supposed to. That's what makes it matter. Tony Stark may be gone, but his impact is everywhere. Let's talk about his legacy, not just in the MCU, but in us. In the story, Tony's influence ripples through every character he touched. He inspired Peter Parker to be more than a kid in a suit, mentoring him through Homecoming and Far From Home. He challenged Steve Rogers to rethink his ideals, sparking the tension that defined Civil War. He brought Bruce Banner out of his shell, giving him a friend who saw his brilliance, not his monster. He pushed Doctor Strange to question his arrogance, setting the stage for their teamwork in Endgame. Even the next generation carries his mark. Shuri's tech mirrors his innovation, Rhodey's loyalty reflects his trust, Pepper's strength honors his love, and Morgan Stark, his daughter, is a living reminder of the future he fought for. But Tony's legacy isn't just in the characters, it's in the fans. He showed us that being a hero doesn't mean being flawless. It means owning your mistakes and trying to fix them. It means standing up when you're scared, fighting for what matters, and never giving up even when the odds are impossible. Every time a new hero steps up in the MCU, whether it's Riri Williams as Ironheart or Sam Wilson as Captain America, we see echoes of Tony's spirit. Not because they copy him, but because they carry forward the idea he championed. Anyone can be a hero if they're willing to try. And honestly, that's more powerful than any repulsor blast or nanotech suit. So what happens to the MCU now? Tony Stark's death didn't just close a chapter, it reshaped the entire story. Phase 4 and beyond are defined by his absence, and that's no accident. The world of the MCU feels different without him. There's a void where his wit, his tech, his leadership used to be. Characters like Peter Parker grapple with living up to his example. New heroes like Riri Williams build on his inventions but carve their own paths. Even Morgan Stark, though still a child, represents the personal stakes Tony left behind. Marvel isn't trying to replace Tony Stark, they're honoring what his loss means. Think about it, if they brought in a new Iron Man to fill his shoes, it would feel hollow. Tony wasn't just a suit, he was a person. His story was unique, and trying to replicate it would cheapen what he stood for. Instead, the MCU is evolving. Tony's death opened the door for new kinds of heroes, ones who don't need to be him, but who carry his influence in their own way. From the cosmic adventures of the Guardians to the grounded struggles of Hawkeye, the MCU is exploring what heroism looks like in a post-Tony world. And that's the beauty of it. Tony's story didn't end the MCU, it gave it room to grow. He laid the foundation and now others are building on it. But it all started with him. Okay, let's bring this home. I want you to think back to that moment in the theater. The snap, the silence, the arc reactor going dark. How did you feel when Tony Stark died? Did your heart drop when Peter Parker clung to him, tears streaming down his face? Did you choke up when Pepper gave him permission to rest? Did you sit there, staring at the screen, feeling like you just lost someone real? Maybe you cried. Maybe you were too stunned to cry. Maybe you walked out of the theater in a daze, replaying that scene in your head. Whatever you felt, it was real. That's the power of Tony Stark's story. He's fictional, sure, but the emotions he stirred in us are anything but. His journey from a reckless playboy to a selfless hero tapped into something universal. His sacrifice wasn't just a plot point, it was a mirror, reflecting our own hopes, fears, and dreams.
First, let's set the stage. The Infinity Gauntlet is no ordinary glove. Forged by Eitri on Nidavellir, it's a cosmic artifact designed to harness the power of all 6 Infinity Stones: power, space, reality, time, soul, and mind. Each stone controls an aspect of existence, and together, they grant godlike power. But there's a catch. Wielding the gauntlet comes with a cost. The energy output is catastrophic, capable of frying anyone who isn't strong enough to handle it. We saw Thanos, a titan built like a cosmic tank, struggle with the gauntlet's power. His arm was scorched, his body weakened, and that was just from one snap. So how does a human like Tony Stark, with no superpowers or alien DNA, manage to wield this thing and survive long enough to save the day? Let's break it down. Tony's strength starts with his mind. From the moment we met him in Iron Man, we knew he was a genius. This guy built a miniaturized arc reactor in a cave with a box of scraps. That kind of intellect isn't just about building cool toys. It's about problem-solving under pressure. In Endgame, Tony's the one who cracks time travel, something even Bruce Banner, a guy with 7 PhDs, couldn't fully figure out. Tony's brain is his superpower, and it's the foundation for why he could wield the gauntlet. He didn't just slap it on and hope for the best. He engineered a solution, and that solution was his final suit, the Mark 85. Let's talk about the Mark 85 armor. This suit is a masterpiece of nanotechnology, designed to adapt to any situation. Unlike his earlier suits, which were clunky and specialized, the Mark 85 is fluid, versatile, and capable of reshaping itself on the fly. Think about it. Tony's suits have always been an extension of himself, a physical manifestation of his ingenuity. In Endgame, the Mark 85 is specifically designed to interface with the Infinity Stones. How do we know this? Look at the moment when Tony steals the stones from Thanos. The nanotech in his gauntlet seamlessly integrates the stones, forming a new gauntlet in seconds. That's not an accident. Tony planned for this. He knew the stakes, and he built a suit that could handle the cosmic energy of the stones, at least for a moment. But here's where it gets interesting. The suit alone isn't enough. The gauntlet's power is so immense that it overwhelms even the strongest beings. Thanos, with his Titan physiology, could barely handle it. Hulk, who took on the snap to bring everyone back, was nearly destroyed by the gamma radiation. So why Tony? The answer lies in his preparation and his understanding of energy. Tony's arc reactor tech is all about managing massive amounts of energy in a compact form. The arc reactor in his chest powers his suit, his weapons, and his life. It's a microcosm of the same principles that govern the Infinity Stones, controlling raw power. Tony spent years perfecting this tech, and in Endgame he applies that knowledge to the Gauntlet. The Mark 85 isn't just armor, it's a conduit, designed to channel the stone's energy through his body in a way that keeps him alive long enough to snap. Now let's address the elephant in the room, Tony's human body. He's not a god like Thor, or a gamma-powered beast like Hulk. He's just a man. But that's exactly why his snap is so powerful. Tony's strength isn't physical, it's mental and emotional. Let's rewind to Tony's journey. From the moment he was captured in Iron Man, Tony's been on a path of redemption. He went from a selfish arms dealer to a hero who puts others first. In Avengers, Age of Ultron, he had a vision of his friends dying and it haunted him. That fear drove him to create Ultron, but it also shaped his resolve. By Endgame, Tony's a father, a husband, and a man who's seen the cost of failure. When he decides to wield the Gauntlet, he's not just fighting for himself. He's fighting for Pepper, for Morgan, for Peter Parker, and for every living thing in the universe. That kind of purpose gives him the strength to endure the unbearable. Let's dive into the science for a second. The Infinity Stones emit a unique form of energy, described in the MCU as gamma radiation by Bruce Banner. This is key. Gamma radiation is what turned Bruce into the Hulk, and it's what makes the snap so dangerous. When Hulk snaps, his arm is burned to a crisp, and he's a guy who can lift mountains. Tony, on the other hand, has no gamma resistance, but he doesn't need it. His suit is designed to absorb and redirect energy. Think of it like a lightning rod. The Mark 85 channels the stone's energy through its nanotech, dispersing it across the suit's surface and minimizing the damage to Tony's body. It's not perfect, but it buys him enough time to snap. This is classic Tony Stark, using tech to cheat death, even if just for a moment. But let's not forget the stones themselves. Each one has a unique power, and wielding them requires more than just physical strength. The Mind Stone, for example, demands mental clarity. The Soul Stone requires sacrifice. The Time Stone needs precision. Tony's ability to wield all six speaks to his versatility. He's not just a scientist, he's a strategist, a leader, and a man who's made tough choices. Remember when he flew a nuke through a wormhole in the Avengers? That was Tony sacrificing himself for the greater good, long before Endgame. The Soul Stone in particular resonates with Tony's arc. He gives up everything, his life, his future with Morgan, to save the universe. That sacrifice is what makes him worthy of the Gauntlet. Now some of you might be thinking, what about Thor? Or Captain Marvel? Couldn't they have wielded the Gauntlet? Let's break it down. Thor's a god, sure, but by Endgame he's a mess. He's struggling with depression and self-doubt, and his mental state isn't strong enough to handle the stone's psychic toll. Captain Marvel is powerful, but she's not a strategist like Tony. She doesn't have the tech or the preparation to wield the Gauntlet safely. Plus, Tony's the one who sees the big picture. He's been obsessed with the Endgame since Age of Ultron. He knew this moment was coming, and he built his entire arc around it. Let's talk about willpower. Wielding the Infinity Gauntlet isn't just about surviving the energy, it's about controlling the outcome. When Thanos snaps, he has a clear goal: wipe out half of all life. When Hulk snaps, he focuses on bringing everyone back. Tony's snap is the most precise of all. He doesn't just wish Thanos away, he targets Thanos and his entire army, leaving the universe intact. That kind of precision requires an iron will. Tony's been through hell, from PTSD in Iron Man 3 to the loss of Peter Parker in Infinity War. Every failure, every setback has forged him into a man who can stare down cosmic power and bend it to his will. But here's the real kicker. Tony's snap wasn't just about power. It was about trust. Think about it. The Avengers trusted Tony to make the call. When he grabs the stones, no one stops him. Not Steve, not Thor, not even Hulk. They know he's the guy for the job. Why? Because Tony's earned it. Over a decade of movies, he's proven himself time and again. He's the guy who built the first suit, who stood up to Loki, who took on Thanos single-handedly. That trust is what gives Tony the strength to snap. He knows he's not alone, even in his final moment. Now let's address a common question. Did Tony know he was going to die? The answer is yes. Tony's a realist. He knew the Gauntlet's power would kill him, just like it nearly killed Hulk. But he also knew it was the only way. Remember his conversation with Pepper earlier in the movie? She asked him if he can rest, and he can't. Tony's driven by a need to protect, to fix things. When he sees Thanos about to win, he doesn't hesitate. He grabs the stones, snaps, and saves the day, knowing it'll cost him everything. That selflessness is what makes him a hero. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. Tony's snap isn't just the climax of Endgame, it's the culmination of the entire MCU. From Iron Man to Endgame, the MCU is Tony's story. He's the one who kicks it off, the one who brings the Avengers together, the one who pushes them forward. His arc is about learning to be more than just a man in a suit. By Endgame, he's not just Iron Man, he's the savior of the universe. The Gauntlet is his final test, and he passes with flying colors. But what about the cost? Tony's snap kills him, and it's heartbreaking. We see Pepper by his side, telling him it's okay to rest. That moment hits so hard because it's the end of his journey. Tony doesn't wield the Gauntlet because he's the strongest or the toughest. He wields it because he's the only one who can. His intellect, his tech, his willpower, and his heart all come together in that one perfect moment. It's not about surviving, it's about winning. So why was Tony Stark powerful enough to wield the Infinity Gauntlet? It's simple. He was always more than just a man. He was a visionary, a hero, and a father who gave everything to protect the ones he loved. His genius built the suit, his courage powered the snap, and his sacrifice saved the universe. Tony Stark didn't just wield the gauntlet, he redefined what it means to be powerful. That's why Tony Stark was the only one who could wield the Infinity Gauntlet in Avengers Endgame.
Loki, the trickster god, is no longer scheming for a throne. At the end of Loki Season 2, he makes the ultimate sacrifice. He becomes the god of stories, sitting at the end of time, holding the multiverse together like a cosmic atlas. He's tethered to the temporal loom, ensuring every branching timeline, every reality survives. It's a lonely, selfless act. Loki's not just a god now, he's the backbone of existence itself. But here's the kicker. How does a guy stuck outside space and time reunite with his hammer-swinging brother? The answer lies in one simple truth. The multiverse is breaking. Time is fracturing. The sacred timeline? It's not sacred anymore. It's shattered into a million pieces, and someone's exploiting those cracks. Enter Dr. Doom, the master manipulator who's rewriting reality itself. This theory suggests that in Avengers Doomsday, the multiverse's collapse pulls Loki back into the fray, or drags Thor into Loki's timeless domain. Either way, the stage is set for an epic reunion. Loki's no longer the mischievous villain we met in Thor. He's a god with unmatched knowledge of the multiverse's inner workings. But he can't stop Doom alone. He needs Thor, not just for his strength, but for the bond they share as brothers. This isn't just about saving reality, it's about family. Now let's shift gears to Thor. Where's the god of thunder during all this multiversal chaos? Last we saw him in Thor, Love and Thunder, he was embracing a new role as a father figure to Love, Gorr's daughter. He's a warrior with a heart, trying to find peace after years of loss. But Thor's never been one to sit out a cosmic crisis. When the multiverse starts crumbling, you know he'll be in the thick of it. Here's where the theory gets juicy. The Time Variance Authority, or whatever's left of it, after Loki Season 2, recruits Thor as a last-ditch effort to save the multiverse. Their mission? Find the one being who holds the key to stabilizing reality. That being is Loki. For Thor, this isn't just another battle. It's personal. He thought he lost his brother for good after Infinity War. Now he's got a chance to find him, not as the trickster who betrayed him, but as a god who sacrificed everything. Imagine Thor stepping into the ruins of the TVA, or standing before the glowing branches of the world tree Loki created. He sees his brother not as a villain, but as the guardian of all existence. That moment alone could redefine Thor's understanding of the multiverse and his place in it. But there's a catch. They're not just reuniting to save the day. They're pawns in a much bigger game orchestrated by the one and only Doctor Doom. Let's talk about the real star of Avengers, Doomsday, Doctor Doom. Forget Thanos and his snap. Forget Kang and his timeline conquests. Doom is on a whole other level. He's not just a conqueror, he's a creator. In the comics, Doom survives the collapse of the multiverse and forges Battleworld, a patchwork planet made from fragments of dying universes. On Battleworld, Doom isn't just a king, he's a god, ruling over every reality he's stitched together. The theory posits that Doom steps into the spotlight after Kang's downfall, likely in Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. Kang's defeat creates a power vacuum, and Doom seizes the opportunity. Using his unmatched intellect and dark sorcery, he harnesses the collapsing multiverse, bending it to his will. He doesn't just destroy universes, he rebuilds them in his image. But Doom's not content with ruling alone. He captures key variants from across timelines, using them to maintain his grip on Battleworld or to pit them against each other in a twisted game of control. Thor and Loki? They're not just threats to his plan, they're the biggest obstacles in his path. Doom knows that a god of strength and a god of stories working together could unravel everything he's built. And that's exactly what sets the stage for their reunion. Now we're at the heart of the theory, the moment fans have been waiting for. Thor and Loki reunite, and it's not on a battlefield or in a throne room. It's at the edge of time, in the shattered remnants of the TVA or within the radiant branches of the World Tree Loki, wove to save the multiverse. Thor finds his brother, but it's not the joyful reunion you might expect. Loki's hesitant. He's not sure he can leave his post. He's the only thing keeping the multiverse from collapsing entirely. Walking away could mean the end of everything. But then, Doom's plan kicks into high gear. The villain starts rewriting timelines, erasing entire worlds, and reshaping reality to fuel Battleworld's creation. Loki realizes that sitting at the end of time isn't enough anymore. To stop Doom, he has to act, and for that, he needs Thor. This is where the emotional weight hits. For the first time since Ragnarok, Thor and Loki stand side by side, not as rivals, not as king and trickster, but as brothers fighting for the same cause. Thor sees Loki not as the brother who betrayed him, but as the hero who gave up everything. Loki sees Thor not as the brash warrior, but as the anchor he needs to face an impossible enemy. Together they're unstoppable. But the question remains, can they take down a god like Doom? Fast forward to the climax. Doom has achieved godhood. Battleworld is a fully realized reality, a twisted mosaic of stolen universes where Doom reigns supreme. The Avengers are scattered, the multiverse is in tatters, and hope seems lost. But Thor and Loki? They're just getting started. Together, they form the ultimate team. Thor brings raw power, his hammer, his lightning, his unyielding resolve. Loki brings something even more dangerous, knowledge. As the god of stories, Loki remembers the true history of the multiverse, the one Doom has tried to erase. He can see the cracks in Battleworld's foundation, the weak points in Doom's seemingly perfect creation. Thor, meanwhile, has the strength to exploit those weaknesses, smashing through Doom's magical defenses with the might of a god. But they don't fight alone. Their defiance inspires others. Variant Avengers from across the multiverse start rallying to their cause. Picture Doctor Strange weaving spells, Wanda Maximoff unleashing chaos magic, Spider-Man swinging through fractured realities, and even variants of Iron Man and Captain America joining the fight. This isn't just a battle. It's a rebellion against a tyrant who dares to play God. Doom, for all his genius, starts to falter. He realizes that Thor and Loki aren't just powerful. They're relentless. Their bond as brothers, forged through centuries of love, betrayal, and redemption, makes them the one force he can't control, and that's what makes them so dangerous. Now we reach the emotional core of this theory, the part that'll hit you right in the feels. Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars are rumored to end with a massive reboot of the MCU, a new universe born from the ashes of the old. But not everyone might make it to that new reality. There's a heartbreaking possibility that one of our heroes won't survive. Could Loki bind himself to the timelines once again, sacrificing his freedom to birth a new multiverse? Or will Thor make the ultimate sacrifice, laying down his life to stop Doom's final gambit? The thought of either brother falling is enough to break any fan's heart. But here's where the theory offers a glimmer of hope. What if Thor and Loki both survive, not as the gods they once were, but as new versions of themselves in a rebooted MCU? Imagine them reborn in the Prime Universe, free from their past burdens, with a chance to live as heroes, or even as ordinary brothers finding peace at last. Their story could become the stuff of legend, a tale told across realities of two gods who defied a tyrant and saved existence itself. So what do you think? Will Loki and Thor reunite in Avengers? Doomsday? Can they truly stand against Dr. Doom? Will Doom create Battleworld, just like in the comics? And most of all, will the brothers finally have the redemption arc fans have waited for? Let us know in the comments what you believe. Is this theory possible? Will Doom outshine Kang? Could Loki's sacrifice become the heart of the multiverse saga? And hey, if you enjoyed this theory, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our deep dives into Secret Wars and everything Marvel's got coming next. Until then, remember, in a multiverse of infinite possibilities, the story of two brothers might be the one that saves them all.